I can do without a drink, because I know if when my girl shows up, if she sees I'm drinking, she's like,
again.
So at least she'll get to see me
All
sober.
right, guys, we're live.
All right, what's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. My name is Mark DeMayo. I'm with my co-host, and he's my partner in all things law enforcement. What's up, Bill Cannon?
Yo, what's up, man? We got a great show tonight with two heavyweights in the industry. I don't know what industry, but they're heavyweights.
Well, I'm proud to announce our guests today. They're the executive producers of The Perfect Murder. It was a show. What was it on Discovery?
Investigation Discovery.
Investigation
ID.
Discovery. ID. It ran for 5 years. Put your hands together, folks, for Rick Tirelli and Kevin Kaufman. Yay!
Yay. And Rick Tirelli happens to be a retired Manhattan South homicide detective, first grade detective. You did what? You did 30 years, right, Rick?
I did 31 years. Yeah.
31. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
31.
a lot of cabbage you got there.
Yeah, a lot of cabbage. Hey, Bill, before we go on, I do want to say one thing. It's an honor to be here for Kevin and I. Number one, you've had some great guests, heavyweight guests on here. It's an honor for Kevin and I to be here. And also want to thank both of you for the great job you did for us when we did our show. Bill, you played many detective roles, helped us out with stories. Mark, you played roles as well. And thank you both for all that and your continued success.
Well, we definitely appreciate you guys. And I just want to know the story of how you met Kevin.
I'll let Kevin tell that story.
I had a cockamamie idea. It was one of the dumbest ideas I've ever had for a TV show, which usually sells because it's so idiotic. And it was called The Cupid Detective. And the concept was you had detectives to help a couple meet cute. So let's say a woman was interested in a guy and she gets the detectives to basically stalk the potential suitor and find out about him so that when she meets cute, she can break the ice and they can go and live happily ever after.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Are they going to make out in this show?
We hope they just
because if they make out, I watch it.
During the credits they make out. Anyway, so
when you watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette,
yeah, it was a precursor of that. Yeah, so I had a friend. I was looking for a detective, and I had a friend of mine. Her name was Mary DeBourbon. She worked for the, I think it was the Queen's
Attorney's office.
Yeah. So she said, "Oh, you got to meet Rick Tirelli. He does all the TV stuff." So I had a lunch date with Mr. Tirelli.
Well, let me tell you about the lunch date. So I'm at the DEA office at the time. I'm the secretary of the DEA. And at the front desk, they said, "Hey, there's a guy."
That's the detective union, right? For people that don't know.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. Over on Thomas Street. And when I go downstairs, I see this guy in tennis shorts, tennis shirt. I'm like, a tennis outfit. I'm thinking to myself, who is this guy? You know? I walk outside. He's got his bicycle with him. He rides a bike everywhere, Kevin, by the way.
Oh, shit.
And I was thinking to myself, wow. Then he tells me about Cupid Detective. I'm like, I don't think I'm your guy, bro.
So anyway, I started hanging out with him nonetheless. So the first thing he introduces me is people like Eddie Ravane and Stevie DeShavi, and we have a few lost nights. And then I thought, hey, the stories that I hear from these guys are the best stories I've ever heard ever.
That's
well, basically, Billy, what else happened was, as you know, Bill Clark was my mentor. And Bill was the first grade detective out of Queens Homicide, as you guys know, and he was the executive producer of NYPD Blue.
Right.
And Bill got me involved, helping him out when he went out to LA, him and David Milch and Stephen Bochco. And I said to Kevin, I said, why don't we do a show? We used to get all these stories for NYPD Blue. Why don't we do them now for ourselves and do a documentary or, the show that we end up doing, watching the detectives.
So the concept
of that show,
yeah.
Was that wasn't as successful as The Perfect Murder, though?
No,
right?
but it was on A&E, and they ordered 13 hours, which was a lot of programming, and
right.
Each hour had 5 stories. So we're talking like what, a ton of stories.
But it was sort of like a procedural. Like the detective would go, I proceeded to get out of my car and walk up the steps of the apartment. I knew this could be a very dangerous situation. Right?
You know,
That was you, Bill.
No, Billy's being
You were the guy
sarcastic.
walking into the danger.
Billy's being sarcastic because he wasn't asked to be in that one. He lost some,
That was before I met you guys.
the
No,
Shawnee stole that show.
Yeah, the working title was Cocktails, because the concept was if you met a detective in a bar, which is not that odd, and he told you his best bar story that would, drop your jaw on the floor, that would be the story we would do. So that was kind of the concept.
How come you didn't call it Cocktails?
That was not PC enough.
I think that's a great name. Such a great. Well, it's a great name for a podcast.
Right.
Cocktails, yeah.
Yeah, you should lock that up.
Yeah. No, we have.
Yeah. That's a great. I love that name.
You guys also did Gotti and Son in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, that was like a straight documentary. So it didn't have any reenactments.
Right.
And that again was for A&E, and it was 4 hours worth where the family kind of told their side of the story.
It didn't seem like they knew that their father was a mobster.
He was such a
We
nice
don't know
man.
what happened. He kept getting arrested.
Hey, Bill, we also did something that you one of your great guests, one of the best detectives I ever worked with, Irma Rivera.
Miss Homicide.
We did Ms. Homicide, which was a great concept. That was at A&E. We did a pilot, and I thought that was going to take off like gangbusters. It didn't, but I'll tell you, Irma was such as you know, Irma's one of the best detectives around.
She's great. She's great. We had her on early. When we first used to shoot the show in my house, we had her on early, and one of her episodes, very early on, got like 18,000 views in 2 weeks on Facebook.
I'm sure.
Like, how the hell did that happen?
Right.
She's great. She's really, really great. And the funny thing
amazing.
is, she says, well, I never did this before, and I'm really shy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go.
And you
as
couldn't
soon as
stop
we
her.
Started,
Couldn't stop
woo,
her.
right out the gate. Woo, story after story.
That's the hands are always going too. She's always like,
It was
Well,
great.
you also talk about hands. You had another great guest that was on our show, Joe Murray. Good friend.
Yes.
Joe Murray's great.
He's been on here a couple times. He's great. Yeah, he's excellent. Man.
Yeah, Joe always played our prosecutor, and I would always share that the secret to our success was every prosecutor on our show won every case.
Yeah.
They never lost a case.
Well, we gave you those slam dunk cases too. You reenacted some great cases on that show. You really did. It was
Well,
unbelievable.
to Rick's credit, he was like the pig looking for the truffles. He would find stuff that no one else could find.
Right.
I say that with admiration, Rick. I don't mean that analogy literally.
The police are taking a beating being called pig. We don't need that right now.
You know what helped me a lot, Bill? I got to tell you, was I got involved with that police softball about 25 years ago. And in my travels, I met so many great cops and detectives and throughout the country. And they knew what I was doing and they were all interested. So they would start giving me plenty of stories. And the stories that we were getting, we had so many stories from all over the country. We had 30, 40 in the hopper before we started. And we still had plenty of cases that we could have ran that show for 10 more years.
I couldn't believe it because I remember the year that they canceled it. I think you were averaging like 1.2 million per episode.
We were.
They canceled it. I mean, do any other ID shows get that audience?
Not now. I mean, I hate to, it's not, it may be a coincidence, but we get canceled and the numbers go soft. So,
Yeah.
Was it coincidental?
Yeah, but you would have probably gotten canceled anyway now because they're going to get rid of all the cop shows.
They're going to try, but that shit's not going to happen.
They just got rid of that other one, PD Live,
Yeah. But
Well,
it's all going to come back.
the most popular one.
Right. I think that was problematic because I think they shot, they shot footage that is probably going to end up in court. So,
Right.
but you're right. unfortunately, these shows are not in vogue now.
They took
I don't
the
know
dog
for
out.
sure,
Dog-
but
the
I
dog
think I
detective.
heard that the show with Olivia Benson, which is Special Victims, I heard that's being canceled as well.
You're kidding.
That was 22 seasons.
Oh, well.
You know, people are gonna be dying for cop shows again because it's a genre that goes right back to Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
So Charlie Chan. It's a genre of film. It's gonna always be here.
Right.
Maybe now they'll have the social worker going to a shooting. How many episodes could we do of that show? The Met tickets going to a parolee.
Poor Mark would be back in warrants again.
Hey, let me ask you, Rick, how did you get started from the very beginning though in the in just getting involved with TV? What was the origin of that?
Well, I was in Queens Homicide. I was working with Bill Clark, and Bill was at the time, the technical advisor for NYPD Blue. And he was traveling back and forth to LA. I mean, the guy never slept. I mean, he was going back and forth on a red eye, like incredible. So when he was made the executive producer of the show within that first year, he needed someone to help him out here to get the stories. And he trusted me, and he knew I knew a lot of people. And I was on the DEA board, detectives board at the time, and had a lot of friends. So he had asked me if I'd help him out with the stories, and then he got me involved. And during that time, David Milch did another show called Big Apple. It was on CBS. And it was a great cast. I mean, Titus Welliver, who's an amazing actor. He plays Bosch currently.
Yeah.
Ed O'Neill was in it from Modern Children. Henry Winkler. We had a great cast of people. And I did that show, but we only did 8 episodes. We were up against ER, and it just never took off. Then I got involved.
Remember when it was another show because I did an audition for some reenactment. I don't know, everyone seemed like they were trying to find the next Lieutenant Joe Kenda. The soul.
They were trying to find the next.
Like the guy who personally solved 400 murders by himself.
Well, we did that with you, Bill. We tried to get you and a few others.
I remember I auditioned. Yeah. I watched my audition.
Yeah, we were trying. They were looking for the next Joe Kenda, and as you say, where he was in a small town in
Colorado.
In Colorado, and they had more homicides than New York City. So
I couldn't understand that where they got all those cases from. And I personally did this.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick, to be a delegate, and also you mentioned when you started working with Bill, how you knew everybody. That's your personality. You've always been this outgoing guy, very friendly, got to know everybody. So you see how it worked for you, not only as a delegate, but also having an afterlife after the job.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark. And it's funny, you and I were reminiscing a bit, and I was trying to figure out where I had first met you. And you remembered that, you were a young cop on a foot post, and I ended up picking you up, taking you to dinner. I was a detective.
You were a detective in the squad. And when I was in FTU, and everybody got you had one day up in the squad. Like all the rookies, just so you can see what they do. And my day when I went up to you guys was I got to put the suit on.
Right.
And I don't know what we did. We did some.
I know we did. We ate and drank. That could.
Yeah, we did some shopping.
He probably took you to Rico's to get outfitted.
I got a Rico suit.
Right. So you look like a detective.
You were involved as a cop, as a PBA delegate too, right?
No, my brother Danny is a PBA delegate for 30. He's currently in his 38th year on the job.
Oh shit!
And he's
your brother Danny. What did they used to call him in the street? What was his nickname?
Danny?
Yeah.
No, that was me.
So that was you, Red?
I was Redbeard.
Redbeard?
Yeah.
You were the pirate Redbeard.
I was the pirate Redbeard.
I grew up in Astoria, and everybody always used to talk about this cop, Redbeard. You gotta be careful.
But you know what? I gotta be honest. There was a guy, Bobby Scanlon, who was a legend and probably the best cop I ever worked with in my life. And he was a street crime. I mean, a crime, anti-crime guy forever. When they abolished anti-crime today, he's rolling in his grave, that poor man, because he was the best anti-crime cop I ever worked with. And he was Redbeard. And when he left, I think everyone just thought I was him. I don't know. We both had red beards, and before you know it, here comes Redbeard. And they all ran away.
What do you think about them getting rid of anti-crime?
You know what? I got to be honest with you. Does a cop really want to be an anti-crime today? I mean,
They're still pulling guns. They're still pulling guns off the street.
You know what? They're the best cops ever in the job as we know it. And it was the best I ever had. Best experience in the job was in the anti-crime with the people I worked, men and women I worked with were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is today, what's going to start happening, and Billy, you know better than anyone. I mean, you were a supervisor. Guys aren't going to want, and girls aren't going to want to do a lot because they're afraid they're being ostracized on everything they do. And people are going to start making CCRBs, and they're going to have that new, great thing that they just implemented in the city council. And I don't know, cops.
Well, that law 50A where they can put your disciplinary record to the public and tell the public where you live. Is that? I mean,
correct.
Maybe they could publish where Cuomo lives and where See how he would like that,
But I don't know what to go.
Bill mentioned something interesting about, or what you guys did about getting the guns off the street. I think that's probably the reason why you get rid of anti-crime, because you want the guns back in the street. You want the guns back in the hands of the people. If you're going to do this whole revolution shit, people got to have guns. The people who have the most guns right now are the conservatives.
It's bad, Mark. I'll tell you.
Not even bullshitting. It sounds like the craziest thing in the world, but tell me why it doesn't make sense.
I wish I could make sense.
Why would you let everybody out of jail?
Yeah.
I mean, does that even make sense? Why would you tell the cops not to do anything during a riot when businesses are getting broken up? There has to anyway. That's my conspiracy thing. I wanted to ask Kevin a question. You've done a lot of TV shows and films too. You know what? I looked up that Palladium when Mambo was king. That's something that I'm really interested in. You know what? I'm not even kidding, because one of my favorite movies is Mambo Kings, and I really like that time, that period when the Mambo was out in New York City. That time period is fascinating to me.
That was my first TV doc. And it was done. I started it just before 9/11, and then when 9/11 happened, I either declared bankruptcy or tried to finish the film literally myself. So I was the cameraman, director, sound person, lighting person, editor, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And,
and craft
my wife, craft services. And my wife bravely let me finish the film. Meanwhile, we were both, my office was across from the towers. I was building a new studio 2 blocks north of there. And I was living in Battery Park. So I hit the trifecta. All 3 places were gone. So it was either, I just gutted it up and finished the film. Now, so I delivered the film literally 24 hours before it aired, which was a testimony to my person who worked at Bravo named Charles Derbyshire, who got out of the TV business, is now running a wine store. But nonetheless, he hanged.
Is he looking to advertise on a podcast?
No, but he said, listen, this is either going to be a disaster or it's going to go. So I had all my friends over and I borrowed a big TV, and the thing goes off as planned. But the sound was horrific. And I thought, oh my God, this is the biggest public embarrassment of my life. This is awful. I said, I'll never work again. And the guy who loaned me the TV said, oh, I'm sorry. And he hit a button, and then the sound went normal. But I literally had half of my entrails in the living room. So that was my kind of first TV show. But it was basically the history of Latin jazz and trace it from Africa to Cuba to New York.
How did it do?
It got me into producing TV. So, it won a couple of, cheesy awards, and, then I started producing TV.
That's great.
And you
did start out in New York or in California?
In New York.
Oh, okay. You played college football, didn't you?
I did. The Fighting Tigers.
Where'd you play at?
Princeton, which was, when Sports Illustrated used to have the top 10 worst teams in the country, we were number 2. Remember when
But you were
Columbia
a
had
smart, you were a smart, horrible football player.
He was a great football player.
Yeah, but when Columbia started their losing streak, we were the last team they beat. So that's how good we were.
And you studied film at Princeton?
No, no, there was no film at Princeton. There was I was a history major. That showed you how practical my education was. But I really spent all my time playwriting, which was even less practical than studying for history. But I wanted to be a writer.
I love that. I love plays. I'm an actor from. That's how I started out acting. But how many places have you put up?
I had like 3 or 4 plays. Some of the worst plays ever written.
Everybody always says.
Were staged at, it was a place called Network Theater, which was off Broadway. And but I was starving, and I was like, I was living with I was sharing an apartment, not in the carnal level, but I was like a subtenant of this crazy Andy Warhol superstar named Ultraviolet.
Oh wow, yeah.
And kind of hook, line, and sinker, I started writing, and that's when I started doing plays. So
great.
She kind of inspired me to make a complete fool of myself. Be shameless.
How many years did you struggle in the business before you started?
I went from struggling to, then I got a job at New York Magazine as a writer, then at Sports Illustrated as a writer-producer, started to kind of learn how films are being done. And that's really kind of got me into, then I had my own production company and did a bunch of commercials and did that for 10 years. So, but my dream was always to do movies or television. Right. So in 92, I actually made a feature film and started doing TV, around 2000.
Well, the funny thing is, Kevin loved the movie thing, and I had a case back in the day, young girl, Kimberly Anthonakis, when I was in Queens Homicide, when I worked with Lou Peer and Tommy Shevlin, and the legend Phil Panzarella, who we all know. And the girl was kidnapped and burned alive. And Kevin and I actually didn't do it that extreme, but we did a movie called Ace the Case. And we did that in 2000. When was that, Kev? 2013?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was, at the same time, I had just finished Pride and Glory with Gavin O'Connor, with Colin Farrell, Edward Norton, and John Voight. And the actors in that movie today are all like off the charts people, like Frankie Grillo and Shea Wiggum and Johnny Ortiz. There's so many great actors that came out of that movie. And through them, I started doing a parallel with Kevin and I doing our movie, and I hooked up with Keanu Reeves. And I think I brought him up to your office, Bill, right?
Yeah, I did. I remember someone said he was there. I don't think I was there that day, but I heard that.
Yeah. So
he's supposed to be a hell of a nice guy.
He might be the nicest man I've ever met.
Yeah.
Genuine, friendly. When we were doing a movie,
no pretense at all. Like regular Joe.
Oh.
I mean, if every woman wasn't sending notes to him, you would just think he was a normal guy.
Yeah. Giving the seat up on the subways.
Yeah.
I know, you see that when there's no cameras on him, he does that.
He's a genuine. I'll tell you a quick story. I don't know if you knew this. After The Matrix, the last Matrix, Keanu had given away $80 million of his salary. $1 million to 80 people that were on the crew, not the heavy people, like the people that the unknown people. $80 million, $1 million to each, and all of the stunt people. He has a motorcycle company of his own. He built all of the stunt people their own motorcycle custom.
Wow.
That's the type of guy he is.
Mark does that too with his comedy.
Yeah. Sure. But if we had no movie, forget it.
A lot less money.
Everybody
gets $20 and just give it out to the homeless. So what are you guys looking to do now, or what are you doing right now?
Well, we're looking to work. We've got a few things we're in development. I've got kind of a pet project. It's on the kind of the career of actually the guy that I worked with at Sports Illustrated, a guy named Walter Yost, who has a storied career as a sports photographer. He was a child prodigy, and at age 17, could follow focus with a zoom with a long lens, which is impossible to do because it shrinks the world down to a postage stamp.
Right.
So if you're following athletes, no one could do it except him. He just taught himself how to do it. So at age 17, Sports Illustrated hires him. First gig he gets is Roger Maris's 61st home run at Yankee Stadium. And he goes on from a career after that that's like, every highlight and moment in sports, basketball, football, whatever. So I'm doing his life story.
Wow.
Now. And then Rick and I've got a few shows that we're, deeply trying to develop, but the TV game is changing. COVID froze everything. Nobody's shooting, crime is problematic, so all bets are off, and we're just trying to be inventive.
You're gonna get away from the police genre?
No, but it'll be a different spin.
Yeah.
It'll be a different spin.
Hey, didn't you do the Housewives show too?
Yeah, that was.
You had to go there, Mark.
No, listen, that's
You are a comedian, Mark, aren't you? Not only
that's it. How popular was that show?
Well, no, I created that show.
I mean,
so I created the show, produced the first seasons, left my family, lived in this horrible community called Costa de Casa, which it was a gated community in the middle of nowhere. So why was it gated? Who were they keeping out? I have no idea. So after we produced the first season, a new regime came in from Bravo, killed off everybody else, and basically just stole the show.
Wow.
So they put 2 bullets behind me in the back of my neck, and I've been in a lawsuit ever since. And they ran away with $1 billion. So that's the short version of the story.
But you didn't have a copyright or trademark?
No. You're going up against NBC, so you think David had a tough time with Goliath. It's tougher.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I just I read it in the Bible. And I thought it was interesting.
That's all right. He just had another dagger in his back.
That's why I love this business. So many nice people.
So you could have had big bucks right now. You could have been wealthy, right?
Oh yeah. Well, fortunately, Rick's independently wealthy, so he takes care of me. I'm like a kept man.
Yeah, big time.
Steve DeShavi.
I love Steve DeShavi. He's the best. I saw Steve last Sunday. I had dinner with him in Florida. My girl and her daughter and my buddy Stevie and Ray Marino, an ex-detective. Steve took us all to Ruth Christ's. Stevie DeArm bought everyone dinner. Thank you, Stevie, if you're watching. He's a great man.
You have to eat outside, or you could go inside the restaurant.
Florida currently is, I guess, what they would call here in the 3 level, whatever you want to call it, the phase 3.
Yeah.
And we were in a private room. They knew Stevie very well. He goes there often, and I guess he's a good client there. And they put us in this private room, the 5 of us. It was a great dinner, great time, and catching up with Steve DeShavi. If you're not laughing,
were you guys speaking Italian, or
Well, we did a little bit of both.
What Salazzo says to Michael, you don't mind if we speak Italian. So he looks at Captain McCluskey.
We were afraid the place was mic'd up, Billy. We were passing notes.
Obviously Torelli, that's Italian, but you're 100% Italian. You're not Irish at all.
I'm Irish, Italian, Swedish, and German. Quarter.
Wow.
My dad's father came over from Italy. My dad's mom was a Westie, Irish. Hey, Billy, do you remember Bobby Small?
Yeah.
Bobby's my cousin. And his mom, Bobby's my second cousin, my father's first cousin. Another great homicide detective Bobby was. I mean, great. Bobby, his mom, and my grandmother were sisters.
But you had a whole lot of people in your family in the police department, too.
Well, my dad was. Oh, did I lose you?
You're
Okay.
back.
No. All right.
My dad was a Nassau County detective. My brother, as you know, is currently the recording secretary for the PBA in his 38th year. And my nephew Andrew Torelli, Danny's son, is just completing the New York City Police Academy and going on the street June 30th. Very
Wow.
proud. Very proud. He had a 98 average in the academy. He probably was one of the highest guys in the not only in academics but the physical education part as well.
So he
I had
scored
that-
higher than you and Danny combined? Is that correct?
That doesn't take much.
Hey, I had a 68 average in the academy too. You said, right? You said 68?
I beat you, Mark.
Hey, you know what's funny? There was actually people in my company that, they almost didn't make it out of the academy. And 65 was passing or something. And,
Right.
just like in high school, they had like a 66. They were rolling the dice the last test, hoping not to crap out. Like, how do you get out of the police academy with a 66, 67 average?
Went on to
You
what,
got held
92?
over. If you got held over in the police academy, that was.
Hey, Billy,
Not a
when
good
did you go on?
sign.
I came on in January '85.
85?
Yeah.
Oh, a year after me. I was January 84.
Yeah.
And you just watch the way that the things have changed and evolved. I mean, we had boxing. We used to beat the shit out of one another.
Yeah, live. Yeah.
And you know what it was? That one guy, a girl, you watch this one guy that didn't like this girl, and the guy would beat them up. Then me and a couple of other guys go, all right, now we're gonna go beat up that guy
I
because.
wish I could let you go back with some of the people years later.
Oh yeah,
Jim,
yeah.
just if you were a boss, bring these five.
I remember one of these podcasts I did, the person asked me, "Oh, do they teach you choke holds in the academy?" I said, "No." I said, "You learned a little boxing, maybe throw some kicks. You learn how to put the cuffs on. There was some wrestling, but that was usually in the shower room after gym. And then that was it. Just with the guys,
They actually
Special. It's a special thing.
Oh, that's why Billy got held over.
They used to teach
Hey.
an artery choke with the
When I went to the academy, I was part of my group was 3,000.
Wow.
So they had to break us up into A, B, and C squads. So like after a gym block, there would be 100 guys waiting to take a shower. And if you didn't get in there right away, you'd miss some of the guys. You know what I'm saying?
Missed him in what way, Mark?
No, you wanted to see everybody come through. So if you didn't get in there right away in the beginning of the line, you're gonna miss some of the guys. You had
I know there's a soap joke in there somewhere.
They used to also, when you say how much it's changed, remember they used to call fat cops sumos?
Sumos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they would drop out of the run, they would go, all you sumos get in the middle, right? Imagine
Billy.
now they have a lawsuit while they're in the academy, right?
Remember the guy down in medical division?
Oh,
Yeah.
Skippy.
Skippy.
Skippy
Remember him?
was a legend.
Oh
man.
my God, that was funny. That guy.
I remember this girl came to the mini medical and she was dressed to the max. And he goes, hey, doll, the beauty salon's down the block. This is the police department. I think if that guy would say that today, they would have his job. Or some muscle-bound guy would come in and go, "Where you going to the power gym, Skippy?"
Billy, it's so funny when you think about the job. And I mean, you did what, 25 or what'd you do?
I did almost 27.
27. I did 31. We met and experienced and had some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life.
Yes.
Men and women that I tell you today, you don't make it in this business alone. It's the people you surround yourself with. And I personally was very fortunate. I had some of the best partners ever in the job. I mean, without them, you're nobody. And, you look back today and you just hope that camaraderie can still exist and these people don't get hurt and they just keep on doing their job and they're not afraid to do their job where they're hesitant to do it. And it's like, when you learn how to drive, the person that takes a back step or doesn't get aggressive, before you know it, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping and praying every night that these poor cops out there breaking their ass every day under these circumstances, hopefully this, city council wakes up and realize the job that these men and women do every day for us and the city.
Well, I'm curious. What does your nephew Andrew? What does he say?
Well, right now he's not in the street,
Right.
and it's like these guys can tell you when you're in the academy, you can't wait to get out there and learn the job. And he's ambitious in that way. Of course, he wants to learn the job, and he's looking forward to it. But I'm sure in the back of his mind, he may have some reserve,
Right.
But he hasn't said that, of course. But he's a young, athletic kid. He saw myself go through the police department, his dad and his grandfather, and
Right,
that was his dream. He had a great
Right.
job in the city, working for a firm that was doing, I guess, commercial advertisement, something he was doing. He had a nice job, Andrew,
Right.
and making a lot more money he probably would have made in this career. But this was his dream, and now he's gonna, be a police officer out in the street.
You know something, Rick? No matter what job you're in, everyone makes mistakes. But on the police department now, they're going to be unforgiven mistakes. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
I
And
agree.
that's scary because everyone, especially rookie cops and even cops with a little time on, you make mistakes. And, now these days with video, with body worn video, with everyone out there hating your guts, it's tough to do everything right every single time.
Right.
And the old "he who hesitates is lost," right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have a lot of cops hesitating because they're going to think, what the hell am I going to do? If I do this, what am I in trouble? If I do that, am I in trouble? So you have a lot of cops that are going to be hesitant
Oh,
and hopefully not, getting hurt.
Right.
Mark, did you want to say something? You're frozen up there, I think.
Either that or
He's
he's
suspended
meditating.
animation or
He's meditating.
something. Kevin, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Listen, I think the pendulum is swinging too far, and you worry about the blowback. Okay, so now everybody's going to be hesitant, circumspect. As Rick says, they're not going to be. They're going to be a lot of second thoughts.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a horrible time.
Well, one of
be
the
a cop.
things
I know.
that anti-crime was so good at was proactive policing
Right.
and making observations and then utilizing stop, question, and frisk and getting guns off the street. But there is no more anti-crime. So who's going to pick that up, taking guns off the street now?
Right.
It's
I
going to
agree.
No, and then everybody's going to overreact, and then you're going to get the civilian population armed to the teeth, and it's not going to take much to light that fire.
Hey, Billy,
So-
I had the honor of being on the Detectives Endowment Association board, and I'll tell you something. All these unions out there are breaking their ass right now, and I'm glad that a lot of them are starting to, be together on the same front and going forward. And the biggest thing that even back in the day, we were scrutinized, and it was an uphill battle. And I remember everyone used to call the trial room the elephant court,
kangaroo court. Yeah.
Kangaroo court. I'm sorry. And it's funny when you think about it. I mean, now with all the deck is so much more stacked against all these police officers. The unions, I'll tell you, they're in for a fight, and I'm telling you right now, they've been doing a great job out there. All the unions trying to back the members. And today, I don't know if I'd want to be on the job today personally.
Yeah, I don't think I would because especially when, at least in New York, the governor and the mayor are both against you.
Right.
At least if you had one of them, maybe you'd have a chance, but they're both against you.
Yeah.
And you notice during all these riots, Cuomo never sent the state police in. He didn't want it blowing back on him,
Right. Yeah.
We could use this. We don't need the state police guarding the toll booths, It's really not what
What was going on there with that looting? Everyone would have helped.
Yeah.
Everyone would have helped. There's not a cop out there that didn't want someone on their back, watching their back.
Absolutely.
It's
So
crazy.
let me ask something though. Kaufman Films right now. Weren't you also gonna be working on some documentary about females on the NYPD? When you do
Yes.
something like that, is that still in the works?
Well, we pitched it under Commissioner O'Neill, and it took a little time for Kevin and I to finally get it through. We had a lot of help from Bob Ganley, who's, as you know, is a union man,
Yeah,
and now
great
he's deputy commissioner, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. And Bob helped us out a lot, pushing it through. And then there was the change of guard when Commissioner O'Neill had left, and Commissioner Shea came in, and he had to get his house in order before that, so it was kind of put on hold. We're hoping to revisit it. We thought it was a great idea because there's so many women out there today doing this job, juggling homes like the men do, but they're moms and they're wives, and they do a hell of a job out there.
Yeah,
it's the man's job.
It's more complicated for them just by the nature of it. It's a woman in a man's world, and yet they're succeeding and they're breaking the glass ceiling. So there's a lot of progress. So that it's a very affirmative story, and then the diversity is apparent as well.
Yeah.
So we thought it was a great documentary to showcase these women in various positions. We were going to do basically we're going to take a ladder approach. So, we profile or follow a woman who was kind of a new, not a rookie, but somebody on, street level, and then maybe a homicide detective, and then maybe a precinct leader, and all the way up to a super chief. So that was kind of our approach, which was, kind of be very positive portrayal of women of the NYPD, which we think is more viable than ever. I'm sorry?
How long would you watch them for? Would it be over years?
No, I mean, listen, it takes probably, you'd have to follow them for a certain amount of period, and then you just follow everything, and then you half the problem is just organizing the footage and all the data and all the media.
Sure.
So but the technology is going leaps and bounds. So the cameras are getting smaller, the sound is getting better, everything is getting better. So you don't need this circus to make a film. You can kind of have a very small crew, which in COVID is actually better. The less people you have, the better it is. Somebody sent me as a joke, but it wasn't a joke. It was a rig. It's like a cart that had a camera, a boom, and a light. And that's how some people are doing interviews. They wheel the cart in. It's kind of a fixed lens. They put the person there. Everything's remote, and then they wheel the cart out. So filmmaking is going to be different now. And the type of companies like us who are kind of ninja style, small and fast, I think.
Kevin, you know who you have to study? You have to study the porn guys.
Well,
because they know.
Well, actually,
to not get body fluids on themselves.
Well, I'd like to go there, but I'm not.
They have
Mark,
big raincoats, they have helmets on.
Mark, you want to respond to that one?
Go ahead.
One of my favorite cameramen, he and his wife were a camera and sound team, and they were hired for something like that. And he said, the marriage broke up. I said, why? He said, I left my post.
Even in the police business, not allowed to leave people.
That sounds like an interesting documentary, though, females in policing. And one of the things, like especially now, and Rick, you were on the job during 9/11, where we were working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and it becomes real tough, right? Because you're a human being and you need sleep, you need to go home, you need to shower, you need to see your family, and I can't imagine now must be much worse than even 9/11.
What we wanted to do. Listen, we're cops, you and me, Mark, but Kevin, I think, is in the pension system because we've been doing it so long. I think he's in the pension system now. But we want to put a positive spin on policing and community. Show that it's like you said before, Billy. There's bad in every group. Right. You're going to find someone bad in every group. Okay, and mistakes are going to happen, and you never want to see anyone lose their lives. No one deserves to lose their lives. But we want to put a good spin, positive spin on policing and the communities that they're working in, and show that there really is a good relationship more than what they're portraying today, that all these people hate one another. You know, there's a lot of times you and I, Bill, you worked up in Harlem. I mean, you worked in some crazy areas. When I worked in the 114, let me tell you, I had people that were in the street would love you and hug you. And that's still going on, but they're not showing those things. They're showing all the negativity because that's what sells papers and does all the rest. And right now you got all these cops, poor cops, you know, men and women out there breaking their ass every night, doing 12-hour tours, not knowing if they're going to make it home and not knowing if they're going to be backed up.
Right.
You know, they don't even know who's in their corner. It's terrible. And that's what we were trying to do. We wanted to show the positive stuff.
You know
That's
something?
what we try to do here. That's what we try to do here with the show.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Exactly.
That's the whole purpose of this, you know. I
You
don't
know,
know as far as TV, because we have control of this, you know, we can still keep pumping them out. I don't know how you get a deal right now with any unless the network is going to be something, you know, on a conservative platform, because none of these people are going to want to produce these shows.
No,
Obviously
I
not.
mean, you know, but all of television is in crisis. I mean, the cable stations, people are home, you know, yeah, on one hand, they're watching a lot of TV. On the other hand, they're like, why am I paying? I can't afford cable bills are like astronomical. And I'm paying for sports. I don't get any live sports. So they're cutting cable and people are kind of learning to live without cable and they're streaming and the streamers are hot. And then, but you know, everybody's trying to get into streaming. So it's fluid. Nobody's like dancing right now. And COVID is impacting production all over. You know, actors, big name actors, why do they, you know, they're on a set, they're surrounded by 100 people. An active set on a dramatic series is 150 people minimum. So what are you going to be testing everybody every day?
Right.
It's not really practical. So what are you going to do?
They got to get the herd. They got to get the whole herd. That's to get COVID.
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm hiding out, you know.
Okay, man. Rick just coughed, man. I'm glad I'm not in the same room.
I covered my face.
No, but like
I look at poor Kevin.
Wash your wrist later, Rick.
You know, poor Kevin living.
Dan Bibb just said, "Hey, Rick, when are you going to make him famous?"
Dan Bibb is already famous on his own. Are you kidding me? That's one of the good guys there, I'll tell you.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Certainly is.
Well, that what you were saying, Kevin, is true. That it's gonna now that because I think they picked up again SAG and AFTRA. I think they're in the phase right now where they can start filming again. But there's like small crews.
Total protocol. I mean, it's like, yeah, and let's see if it works. I mean, they're wiping down everything, and everybody's like, you know, blah blah blah. But let's see if it works. You know, it's great until like one big series gets a COVID, you know, in the whole crew, and then we'll see what happens.
Oh, and everyone sues. Right?
Yeah, so you know, it's not a great time for anybody.
No,
much less in the film business.
Although I did get a haircut today, as you could see.
Looks good.
I am so jealous. I look like Jeremiah Johnson.
I just wore my mask,
in the
but
back.
they don't shave. Let's use the.
I got my
I had to
COVID
wear my
beard.
mask during it. You know?
Monday you can start getting a haircut in New York City again.
Wow.
Phase 2. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Phase 2. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I was just down in Florida, and it's crazy because I just got back on Monday, and they opened up there in phase 3, I believe, down there. And all of a sudden, these people are forgetting about wearing the mask and doing certain things, and they're having a spike again.
Right.
And they're doing, from what I understand, 2,500 a day again. And you know, these people aren't, you know, even thinking about it anymore. Then I said,
In Jacksonville, 15 people got it in one bar. In Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. People thought it was just like party time again. And 15 people
yeah, it's crazy. And then Cuomo said today, people coming from Florida, coming back here to New York, he's going to quarantine them possibly for 14 days. Yeah.
Him and his brother Fredo, they're going to stand outside your house.
Isn't it an interesting thing that, you know, all their threats are basically idle if, you know, the NYPD isn't fulfilling their wishes. they're just idle threats because that's your arm, and yet all you do is abuse them.
Well, you know what's
it's an
funny,
abusive relationship.
Mark? You know what's funny? It just is a quick, situation that you could go back to. You bring up that Fredo thing, and when you think about it, Cuomo's brother had that little thing with his neighbor over a mask.
Right.
All right, he
Well,
wasn't being pissed on, bricks thrown on him, being hit with an extinguisher in the head, and he was beating the shit out of his neighbors and everybody.
Right.
Could you imagine being on that front line?
I'm your
Imagine him
older
being a
brother,
guy.
and I want respect. I'm smart.
Yeah. Okay. So guess what? Now go out there and be that poor policeman that's standing out there, a woman or a man standing on that line, being hit with bricks and fire extinguishers,
cocktails.
and So what do you think? How would he like react to that?
Yeah.
But no one thinks about those little things. But the first people out there ostracize the police, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, look what they did.
Exactly.
Well, they're locking up a lot of those people. There's a lot of those. The FBI's been locking up a lot of the people because the video, obviously, the videos that's in all these major cities right now is phenomenal, and a lot of them have these tattoos that identify them. So they've gotten a few, I think it's maybe like up to about 75 people around the country, with major charges. And they were all people that probably thought they were scot-free because they made it home that night after the incident and, had a story to tell for a week or 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden, it's the FBI at your door, you know what I'm saying? With the PD.
That's a good thing.
What's interesting about that too is a lot of these people have legitimate jobs. One who threw a Molotov cocktail was like a massage therapist. There's a lot of teachers getting involved in this shit.
That was good. That was good detective work because they tracked her down through LinkedIn. And before that, it was through Etsy. She had bought one of the things that she was wearing was a unique clothing item. And the only place you can get it is on Etsy. So they went on Etsy. They found out how many people, she made a comment about the product after she bought it, how she liked it. So that's how they found her off of that. They put that name into LinkedIn or for LinkedIn.
That sounds like Torelli. It sounds like a Torelli case song.
Giving a lot of secrets away.
What?
A lot of secrets away.
Yeah, right.
You have an Etsy mask, Bill?
No, I have that cheap little fucking blue thing. My wife gave me a design one today that I wore to the barbershop, though.
Yeah. It matches your underwear.
Yeah.
It was his underwear.
Kevin objected when I was in Florida. I took a picture of the jacuzzi and I said, about to dip my balls in this jacuzzi. That's too much information.
Hey, you know what's funny is that when I work in the academy as an actor, I do the scenarios there. And I noticed that they were giving out the like they have their own water bottles with their names on it, And I thought to myself, isn't this something that? Remember, we went to the academy for you. You didn't get any water after you run.
No.
You stood on that to get a sip out of the bubbler, the fountain,
the toilet bowl.
The men's bathroom. We were like,
the class was supposed to drink out of the toilet bowl.
Well, listen, my point is this, is like, I was looking at these kids, none of them, there's not many of them that look to be in great shape or not physically imposing. And I'm wondering about these kids. And then you see them, they get water thrown on them and stuff like that over last summer. But I tell you what, man, as much as a social worker as you want to be, when you get on this job, you're going to show everybody how to do it right. Once you get hit in your head with a brick, it changes you.
But could change
and all these kids, man, that were out there and they might have been a little soft. The first day you might be a little sheepish, but then you're out for your next 12-hour tour. You're standing a little bit, more up. The third 12-hour tour, you're like this. And by the fourth one, you're like this.
Yeah.
And these people that came on, they're not the same people anymore.
No.
That's a different police officer. That's a hardened police officer right now. You changed that person. They're not the same person that went through the academy anymore. That's a different person now.
I agree.
Unfortunately, a lot of them can maybe defeated too, because they're not getting the backing from the higher ups of the police department, and definitely not getting the backing from the mayor or from the government.
Because no matter what we went through, this is it's that plus an extra 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Whatever I went through on the job, it was usually a 3-day thing, 5 days. 9/11 was like 2 weeks. But after like the third or fourth day, everything kind of sort of settled back in. You were doing the 12-hour tours, but you weren't really doing much. These guys are working every single night.
Mhm.
And I saw a group going down Second Avenue yesterday. We're going into 3 weeks right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, at this point right now, they're just basically following around, babysitting them. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
still, it's like, you know, these guys, they're different people now. So as much as they went in, this is what happened now. It's like almost the way what happens to a soldier, you know?
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah. You're 100%.
well, listen, you know, we're approaching the hour, and I know Kevin's got a dinner he's got to make. So
Oh, yeah.
I just
Yeah,
want to I want to thank you guys for coming, for being guests on the show. I want to ask you guys, you know, if you have any parting words, what are you guys working on together right now? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, Kev.
Well, listen, whatever we do, it's going to be Torelli style, which is great storytelling, authentic, positive, and you're going to learn something.
Mhm.
So that's what we're going to be doing.
And we're going to hire people like Bill Cannon again and
Yeah,
yourself.
that's what I was going to ask that. Are there any parts for me on the horizon?
You know that. And we'll be picking.
Bill, you're always good.
Qualify.
You're always good.
Did I disqualify myself by saying I was going to dip my balls in the jacuzzi?
I still think you would have been the next Kenda. I do. I
Joe
tell you, we
Kenda.
interviewed you.
I personally solved 400 murders, though.
You did. You know what? You did a great job at the interview, and I was quite surprised that we sent in a couple of good interviews of good people, talented people, and no one like Bill McNeely. You guys know Billy McNeely,
Yeah,
good looking, smart, articulate. Al Titus, smart. He's got his doctorate now. He's a brilliant guy.
Dr. Titus.
Dr. Titus. Dr.
Yeah.
Titus.
Yeah, so I listen, you know, but we'll roll the dice again with you, Bill. No
I
doubt.
hope so.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, listen, I got a script I'm working on over this COVID. I got 70 scenes already.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Don't quit your day job, Mark.
This has nothing to do with showers, right?
I just want to shout out to a few people: Joe Murray, Peter Pranzo, Richard Ficken. Who else we got here? Daniel Bibb, of course, always watching. Sandy Rubino, James Marciello, Oscar Ferrafino. I can't. If I left anyone out, I'm sorry.
A lot of talent in that list too.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
great people
A lot
watching.
of talent, a lot of good people.
Yeah, Joe Murray.
We'll hope
We
we
love
take
Joe.
it to the next level. So,
Love Joe Murray.
Okay.
Joe Murray's
Thank you,
great.
fellas.
thank you
All
guys
right.
for your time. It was a pleasure. An honor.
All right. Thank you.
Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you.
And when your big show comes out, we'll have to have you back on.
All right. We'll
Love to
do.
do it.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks,
Be an
Mark.
honor.
All right, enjoy.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.